Boss Fight asks, do you fear the Phantom? Here's your look at the new Boss Fight Studio Hero Hacks highly articulated character kit system, the Phantom, the Ghost Who Walks. There is a legend in the jungles of Bengala, a tale almost 500 years old, the story of a man who cannot die. The 21st bearer of the name, the current Phantom, is the latest in a long line of crime fighters, sworn to devote his life to the destruction of piracy, greed, cruelty, and injustice in all of its forms. Kit Walker protects Bengala from pirates, slavers, criminals, and traffickers of all types. Although born in the Phantom's legendary Skull Cave in Africa, Kit Walker lived for several years in Clarksville, Missouri, where he attended school and became proficient in a number of sports, including boxing and gymnastics. The Phantom has no special powers, instead relying on sheer physical strength, refining fighting skills, and a fearsome reputation to overcome his foes. First, before we begin, I'd like to thank the folks over at Boss Fight Studios that did provide the Ghost Who Walks that we could have a look at in this video. Grabbing the tape measure now just to see how tall the figure stands, the Ghost Who Walks scales within that 3 3/4 inch scale. So if you are a big fan of that size of figure, then Boss Fight is right up your alley. Yeah, the figure is only about 3.5 inches in height, if I did want to be exact about the matter. And to spin that around, you're looking at the Phantom being about 9 centimeters in height. Sandwiching him on either side, we have two other examples from Boss Fight Studio. One side is Flash Gordon, the other side, the evil Ming the Merciless. And it seems to be the case that Flash Gordon and Ming the Merciless are both taller than the slightly shorter Phantom in the middle. Chalk it up to the fact, of course, that Ming the Merciless, even though he is bald after all, does still have that headdress piece that does give him a little extra reach. And Flash Gordon does have that long flowing blonde hair as well. For the Phantom's accessories, the figure comes included with a black Hero Hacks display stand. To show you what it looks like next to the ones we got with both Flash and Ming, you can see that this one is nicely bright and red. It's not to say that you have to necessarily commit to the idea of displaying this one with the Phantom if you wanted to display it with another figure. Although I gotta say, like, red I don't think would work as well with a character's colors so dark like Phantom. Still gonna stick with the black. They're exactly the same mold to one another, and features the placement of pegs also in the same places as well. When taking the figure, it would always be best recommended. I don't know if you can also see already, this hole on this foot is slightly bigger than this one here. This is where we started. This is where we ended. I would certainly recommend, if you're having difficult time getting these figures on the stand, just to take the stand and twist it like I'm doing right now. Sort of dowel a bigger hole on the undersides of the feet. And that's probably one of the reasons why they do make the holes on the bottoms of the boots slightly smaller, so that when you eventually do drill in a bigger hole from the stand, it means that the figure isn't going to be going well, that's not going to be a good example, but it's not certainly going to be going anywhere. Taking him off the stand for the time being, we'll put that right off to the side. The figure comes included with a sword, a swashbuckling sword. It does have the gold guard as well as a black hilt, a nice slightly curved blade done all nicely here in a metallic silver. This does fit in rather nicely into his hands right now. You don't even have to change the hands when you get the figure out of the packaging. I swear I have not done any changing of hands at all. Go ahead and take the sword and put it into his hand, and he's ready to go. Although if you do prefer something slightly different for the Phantom, then of course he comes also included with his pistols. Go ahead and pick those up right now. The figure seems to have a matching pair of M1911 pistols, his go-to pistols of choice. I think normally they would have had a little skull motif here on the handle, but being that they are so small after all, I would still credit Boss Fight for nicely painting these. Looks like they probably started with a slightly darker plastic and then brushed the silver over top of it. You can take the pistols and fit them also into his hand. That may involve you having to remove, first of all, the sword. Take that and put that to the side. Go ahead and take the pistols, fit them into his hand. And while the figure doesn't necessarily have trigger firing fingers, at least he actually does have more of a grip to them, as opposed to traditional C-clamp grips that most of these figures tend to have. His grips are a little bit more closer together. And you can see that's what the figure looks like when you have the pistols both drawn. If you would like to store, though, the pistols, as it would have been the case in Phantom's designs, there's obviously the little holsters here on the sides of his legs. You just slide and holster those in. I do feel like the holsters perhaps are slightly too big, but the fact that they has to accommodate, of course, being able to fit and holster those pistols, I guess they would have to be slightly bigger. They just seem a little more scaled up versus the proportions of the rest of the figure's body. The last thing the figure comes included with, providing I'm getting him to stand, is a pair of closed fists. Nothing wrong with closed fists at all. Now, you'll notice on both the fists that he actually does have rings. Now, the rings are unique to one another. He has the evil mark on his right, so that would be, I guess, this one right here. And then he has the good mark ring on the other side. You simply can swap these out by popping these off of the sockets, but for me, I'm likely going to be displaying the figure, I think, with his pistols drawn, just to show you the detail work that they've actually done to it. See the skull on the one side? That's the evil mark. Just kind of give you an idea. And we'll put those to the side also as well. Getting a closer look now at the Phantom. Really nice colors on this one. You know, to the credit, I want to keep continuing to praise Boss Fight for doing this. The colors are so rich on these. I mean, look at the vibrant purple that they've used on this, the striping of both the blue and the black there on his lower trunks. He doesn't have as much color, granted. Now, there is also another variation of the Phantom that's going to have the blue body costume and the red trunks instead of the blue. We are going to be looking at that in an upcoming video. That also comes included with little tiny little people. That's actually their names. I'm not trying to be derogatory or anything like that. And they're flying around in little tiny birds. Stay tuned for that. Head sculpt wise, I'm really happy with how this one turned out. Really nice work, though, on the Phantom. Doesn't have much of an expression. Not that he necessarily needs much of an expression anyways. I mean, I guess they could have given him a grimaced face, and maybe an opportunity could have been made for the blue variant to maybe have a different expression on his face. But overall, I'm still pretty happy with how this one turned out. The mask has been painted nicely done in black. You can see the whiter eyes inside of that. And again, the skin tone, like everything about these figures, for the size and the scale of what they are, they're always nicely colored. The back, there seems to be a hole for a backpack that the figure does not come included with, but the whole idea is that you can swap around the accessories that come included with the other Hero Hack figures, so why not? Give him a pack that he can carry around down the road. Get that maybe from another figure and just attach that into the back of his torso. Once again, the Boss Fight Studio releases do have the very commonly found screw on the back of his behind. It's one of those cases where it's unavoidable. You could, I suppose, go in and paint it, although if you ever down the road need to remove these, I don't know why you would ever need to remove the screw from the Phantom, but if you did, then you'd have, of course, paint over top of that. It would be nice, actually, if they could have included like a little tiny cap. That's so small that would be to be lost, but a cap that they could have actually just popped inside of that hole and just filled out the screw so you'd never even see it. Most of the time, I'm thinking anyways that many of you will be displaying your figures from the front, so the likelihood of you ever even knowing he has a screw on the back is probably slim to none. For the articulation here on the Phantom, head is on a nice ball joint, so you can rotate the head all the way around. You can also have the head looking down, quite a lot actually too, and the head is looking up. Because he doesn't have any additional hair or anything else that would get in the way, of course, of articulation, he has one of the best articulated heads that we've seen from the Hero Hack articulated character kit systems from the folks over at Boss Fight Studios. Highly articulated character kit systems. Always have to keep remembering the name of that as it's broken down. Arms rotate all the way around. You can, yes, hinge the arms out. Not quite, I would say, beyond the point of a jumping jack pose. And yeah, you can rotate all the way around. Figure has only just a single hinge on the elbow, but that also allows that arm to rotate back and forth, and the hands also rotate all the way around. Whether you decide to use these hands, or you decide to use the punching fists instead. Upper torso is all in a nice ball joint too, so you can have it looking down, lunging down slightly more. You can also have it looking back a little bit higher too. You want to give him like a matrix pose or something along those lines. Legs do split out. And the one thing I do like about that is the way they've holstered the sides here. These little holsters for the pistols are attached to his belt, which I don't know if I actually even pointed out the fact he's got a nice little skull motif painted in a nice rich silver there as well. But because they're attached here and they're not attached here, it means you can actually at least give him a better splits on his legs. You can take the legs and go forward with and back on those legs, and about 3/4 of the way up the thigh, there's a nice swivel cut there as well. A double hinge on the knee for the Phantom. There's no articulation here for the boot. It seems to be just a continued mold from the rest of the calf, although they would have obviously gone in there and painted the boot. And for the feet, they move back and forth this way, and a nice ankle pivot happening there as well. Sort of did reveal my hand early here, as of course we are going to be looking at the blue variant of the Phantom in an upcoming video. And again, if you like the blue costuming of the Phantom, I got to say, like, the coloring on that one is good too, and it does have the inclusion of the little people. Again, I'm not trying to be derogatory. The costumes also with his is going to be a little bit brighter, but like the head sculpts seem to be sticking the same. Although right now it's really hard for you guys to gauge that because we're not looking at the other one right now, but you have to take my word for it. The head sculpts seem to be identical between the two. I think it would have been nice if they could have actually done a different head portrait for the variant and kept a more neutral expression for the purple one that we looked at in this video. Considering a character like the Phantom gets as little love as he does, it's always nice when a company like Boss Fight Studio eventually releases a figure based on him. Now, this one is obviously shrunk down in size, but if you're a big fan of 3 3/4 inch scale, you're not going to find a better Phantom than this. Now, for me, between the two, even though we haven't yet looked at the blue variant, I still like the more, I don't want to say like the traditional purple colors, but it's always the color scheme I think of most when I think of the Phantom. The other one that we're about to have a look at in an upcoming video, a tease to that, is going to be an all blue outfit with the red trunks instead of the blue that we get right here. Figure has some decent accessories in the sense that he does have the 2 matching pistols. He does have a swashbuckling sword, and of course he does have punching fists. For as good as those accessories would be, why would you want to switch them out to punching fists? Not that I'm going to judge you. Well, you can do whatever you want with your figures, but I think for the fact that they include such detailed accessories to go with such a detailed posable figure, why would you not just always want to display the figure with gripping hands? And exactly what I'm going to be doing in this case. I'm still not sure whether I'm going to display him with both pistols drawn, or in this case, as we're looking at here in final looks, have the figure drawn with one sword in hand and then the other pistol on the other hand. Big thank you, though, to the folks over at Boss Fight Studio that did provide this sample of the Phantom the Ghost Who Walks purple version. I don't know if I'm actually going to put that in the title, because obviously in both the cases, I say obviously, like you guys all are all in the room with me right now. Oh, wait, how'd you get here? But you don't know this, but actually both of the Phantoms are called the Ghost Who Walks. So I would probably have to say the blue variant or the purple variant. I think we're just going to stick with the purple version for this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, speaking of which, why not hit it with a like? If you're loving the content that you're seeing and certainly want to stick around for more, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below, turn the bell notification on, and come back, because while we have wrapped up the review for purple version Phantom, the blue version of Phantom will be right around the corner, as well as some other goodies from the folks over at Boss Fight Studio. As always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.